So I want to talk about the introduction of the global environment issue in the international relation. So environmental challenge has a limited impact on international relation. This is because the theory and practice are connected. When there are new questions added to the international relation theory, there have been theoretical advancement as well as scientific practical and literary improvement for a long-term perspective on the human future. There are many measures on the global environment issue, which is resources, water, air, and others. So for this first major environment issue is air pollution. It can be related any chemical physical that pollute on the atmosphere. The air pollution that can be informed such as heat, carbon dioxide, nitrogen, and others. So the second is global climate changes. This is referred to the conditions such as temperature and rainfall in the regions. This is because the average of long-term changes throughout the entire Earth refer to the global change. So for the third is waste disposal. It is known as such as waste management in collecting, processing, recycling, or human society waste. If people do not properly manage the waste disposal, it will become quite harmful.
The causes the problem. Okay, the first one is air pollution caused by the smoke emission from vehicle exhaust, industry, factories, waste disposal site, and the animal husbandry sector is one of the contributors to the occurrence of air pollution. As we know, this air pollution can also endanger our health, especially the children who are vulnerable to disease and people who are not economically able to face difficulties in fancy hospital bill if they have a problem. For example, of country with a very high rate of air pollution is Indonesia. In Indonesia, forest fires are the cause of air pollution. This is because the fire occurs simultaneously and carbon dioxide (CO2) was released. This pollution is 5 times that of the US economy. Next is the cause of climate change is global warming occurs when carbon dioxide (CO2) from pollutants accumulate in the atmosphere. This hydrocarbon will hit the planet through the greenhouse effect due to the Earth's atmosphere and incoming radiation from the sun. For example, in Japan, the corner of the Osaka earthquake and Typhoon will hit Japan in 2018, have made the Japan the most treated country due to the climate change. Next, for waste disposal, organic matter means domestic waste that can be decomposed and disposed of easily. It means that the rubbish that was thrown away is easily decomposed and will disappear in a short period of time. Domestic organic waste is usually produced from animal and plant sources. A more example of a solid domestic category of organic, for example, Russia has no tradition for recycling.
First and foremost is implication of air pollution is that occurred in 2019 Malaysia and several neighboring countries were affected by the open burning of forests in Sumatra, Indonesia. The number of rainforest fires in Indonesia increased dramatically spread for over South Asia. It also raises worry about the health implication of forest fire spreading throughout the planet. As a result, Malaysia and many other nations have submitted a diplomatic message to the Indonesian government requesting that the country put out the fire as soon as possible so that its impact do not worsen. Second implication impact by the climate change or global warming plus emission in terms of societal health consideration. Human will be increasingly prone to disease as the planet warms, especially those with weakness immune system, which is fever, TB, skin infection, and the impact of mosquito breeding such as dengue fever and malaria are only a few of the illnesses that might arise. As a result, if climate change and global warming continue, it will become increasingly difficult for people to better their everyday life will also affect international relations by restricting the amount of food import from other nations for export, has happened to the country of India. Third implication of global environmental is waste disposal. It's affected by the tourism, construction, plantation, and agriculture sector, which are the main contributors to the country economy, which has a major effect on the country is hazardous waste and nuclear waste will contaminate the land, making it unfit for human and animal statement. An example of a nuclear plant explosion at Chernobyl, Russia.
The worst country in controlling air pollution is Bangladesh. Bangladesh is one of the countries with the largest population in the world, with a total population of 165.7 million. With a rapid population, it is a factor in the occurrence of very severe air pollution. For example, a city in Bangladesh, which is Dhaka, is the largest city in the country and is very vulnerable to air pollution. It occurs due to the conjunction of residents and outsiders who come to the city for better economic opportunities and cause industrial pollution and large-scale constructions activity. Japan is the top country at risk to climate change, followed by Philippines and Germany. Although Japan is a country with a sophisticated technological system, but climate change is not able to surpass all existing systems. Japan is a country where it is at risk of several threats such as coastal threats, flooding, and rising temperatures, and will also lead to food security. For example, when global warming occurs, it will lead to rising sea levels, change in rain and snowfall patterns, and extreme weather that will affect Japan, such as the destruction of infrastructure, agriculture, tourism, and so on. This is the worst country in managing waste disposal. For example, in this context, first we can look at between 2008 and 2010 told us that municipal rubbish collection grew by 3.8%. Next, in terms of garbage sites in Tokyo City, the number of landfills increased from 15 in 2001 and 38 in 2008, 59 in 2011, and 69 in 2012. There was a 25% rise in the amount of hazardous trash processed between 2009 and 2010. That is why Turkey is compelled to immediately adapt itself to the adverse impacts of waste disposal.
Next, we move to the part suggestion to be done regarding the issue. Firstly, the solution to the air pollution problem is important to help lead the curve, especially when it relates or gives negative effects on global interaction or international relations. Firstly, makes a way by empower more on air pollution monitoring program. For instance, like Denmark, which already enforced Danish environmental regulation, which is Environmental Protection Act 2017, that has been the product of combination of Danish actions and the application of international treaties and EU directives over the last 2 decades on international level. Secondly, expand further on renewable energy projects to combat climate change issue. It is because renewable energy comes from naturally renewing but flow-limited sources, which mean renewable sources are nearly limitless in terms of length but have a finite amount of energy per unit of time. For example, we can make Morocco as an example country because for years Morocco has been heavily committed in the fight against global warming, which means the country has committed to a significant decrease in greenhouse gas emissions to prevent global warming, especially in international level. Lastly is by avoidance and waste reduction techniques to avoid waste disposal keep happening in global environment. Instead of implementing effective recycling and trash reduction programs, wastage disposal and management facilities as well as state resources have continued to rely on short-sighted and quickie solutions regarding this arising issue.